I'm going to talk about the DFID, SIDA, and DINA-funded PIOPIN program in Myanmar. And PIOPIN is a governance and civil society program, but it's a governance and civil society with a number of significant differences. It fundamentally embodies many of the characteristics of the adaptive, iterative, politically smart, locally led development approaches that we've been talking about in this workshop. PIOPIN means young shoots in Burmese. The program's name implies that change can start from very small beginnings. As such, PIOPIN began modestly and speculatively in 2006 in a very constrained social and political context. But over the past 8 years, PIOPIN's young shoots have grown and spread. The program has helped Myanmar's civil society develop deeper and stronger roots and build genuine capacity and confidence among a broad range of non-state and even state actors. It has helped to build bridges between non-state actors and state administrators, private sector, and parliament. PIOPIN has helped to change not only the formal rules of the game in particular sectors, but also to help change some of the informal rules of the game. For instance, PIOPIN's issue-based coalitions are helping to shift government laws and policies in fisheries and forestry, basic education, HIV/AIDS, and rice markets. At the same time, PIOPIN has built social capital between civil society groups and demonstrated to government actors the value of engaging with non-state actors and the private sector in policy and reform processes. Overall, PIOPIN shows what a politically attuned, flexible, locally legitimate, and entrepreneurial program can achieve in a very difficult and rapidly changing environment. So what problem were we trying to solve? So at its inception, PIOPIN was trying to address a core problem for external actors in Myanmar. Namely, how can you as a development partner support governance and improve state-society engagement in one of the world's most repressive and closed political regimes? Since Myanmar's political and economic reforms began in 2011-2010, however, this core question has changed. Now the challenge for PIOPIN and others is how can external actors help emerging reformers in Myanmar make the most of the country's political and economic openings? How can we help to nudge Myanmar's politics and public policy and its political settlement in a more open, inclusive, and fair direction? So for much of the past 2 decades, most development assistance and development partner engagement has just been around humanitarian work. Donors provided little more than humanitarian assistance to those who were displaced by Myanmar's chronic civil wars. There was little engagement with government and domestically based civil society. But PIOPIN decided to take a very different route. In 2005 and 2006, DFID Burma commissioned a Drivers of Change analysis. This found that low-level political and social change was occurring in Myanmar, and that Myanmar's domestic civil society was more capable and diverse than was previously assumed. This analysis found that it just might be possible to work with emerging civil society actors on carefully selected issues. The program began to work below the radar. It began to engage with a limited number of actors around issues where interests and coalitions of actors were already coalescing, for instance, around HIV/AIDS or rice marketing. To keep a low profile, the program played down its focus on political economy analysis and engagement with actors the military authorities did not feel were legitimate. The program was also housed in the British Council in the British Embassy compound, which helped to give it some cover. In its first 2 to 3 years, PIOPIN was able to build strong and trusting relationships with many actors in Myanmar, including non-state service providers, faith-based groups, environmental groups, ethnic civil society, and groups associated with the political opposition. It also began to build bridges with reformers in government. As a result of this spade work, when Myanmar's generals swapped their uniforms for suits in 2011, PIOPIN was exceptionally well placed to engage with the country's reform process. While other development partners were scrambling to appoint staff and develop strategies and business cases, Piopin was already working with reformers in a broad range of sectors and issues. In its second phase, the program was thus able to scale up and capitalize on the spade work it had already done. It helps that Piopin had earned a degree of legitimacy among domestic actors that is rare among development programs. This legitimacy stems from the program's support to domestic actors during the military regime. Piopin's approach and its success has been underwritten by several different features of the program, specifically its inbuilt flexibility and responsiveness, its ability to build bridges between actors, and its ability to think and work politically. Piopin's strategy, its programming choices, and its financial resources are intentionally flexible and responsive. Piopin does not predetermine the issues and partners with which it works. It does not make calls for proposals. Instead, it identifies those issues around which broad coalitions of stakeholders might be supported. Piopin's engagement has often started small and been incremental. It has allowed it to take a sort of venture capitalist or entrepreneurial approach to things. It's been able to pilot and incubate ideas and approaches and then scale up engagement where appropriate and scale down where not. This approach has been applied to its work in rice value chains, garment industry, informal education provision, and legal aid. Being fast and flexible like this really matters in a context where reform opportunities emerge rapidly and only exist for a limited period of time. Piopin has been able to engage with reform openings as and when they occur, not after the fact. Lastly, Piopin's political economy has put political economy approach at the heart of its way of working. The program's team is extremely good at thinking and working politically. Piopin's overall strategy and its individuals' issue-based programs are based on structured political economy analysis. Every 6 months, it conducts and updates an overall analysis of the country and its scenarios, and for each issue-based program, it does political economy analysis to then decide what to do and how to do it. This includes very sophisticated or increasingly sophisticated actor network analysis. But it's particularly the quality of the Piopin team and the way it works that enables the program to work politically in a difficult and fluid context. This is particularly important to be, hands-on and politically savvy in a context in which you must overcome decades of mistrust to build coalitions for change. The team is almost entirely Burmese and consists of savvy, politically connected entrepreneurial men and women. The team is not balanced in a Myers-Briggs sort of way. There are a lot more entrepreneurial, intuitive doers than there are completer finishers. But team members are therefore much more skilled at making the connections that need to happen to bring about real change and to apply the sort of elbow grease that makes things happen.